All right. So we talked a lot about how people work. We talked about how to find out about how people work, how to do research, how to gain insight into a specific avatar. Now we're going to start talking about how to grab their attention and make them extremely curious. We live in an attention economy. We live in a world where whoever can capture someone's attention the best and direct them to take action wins. That's basically the game. And that's a huge part of copywriting. And you need to understand the psychological function of attention and curiosity if you want to be successful. So let's go ahead and I'll start showing you how to do that. He who controls the dopamine controls the universe. The first battle you have to win when you're in the communications game, in the persuasion game, is the battle for their attention, right? That is the number one thing. We live in a world where people are more distracted than ever. People are addicted to their phones. They're addicted to drama. They're on these little dopamine drips on social media feeds, on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever, just scrolling, consuming. If they're not being entertained and if their attention isn't being captured, they will move on to something else. It's harder than ever to capture someone's attention and keep their curiosity. So how do you stand out? How do you win in this battlefield for attention? Like, you have to understand how humans work and how our attention has evolved, right? Thousands and thousands of years ago, we were just living out in the savannah, right? We were just living out there. There were lions, there were tigers, there were antelope we wanted to eat. And our mind got really good at identifying certain things because identifying those certain things kept us alive, right? Our ability to pay attention to these things is what either allowed us to eat or what allowed us to run away from danger or allowed us to interact well with our tribe, right? You need to break the pattern, right? So like back then we'd stand out there and we'd stare out into the savannah. And if that blade of grass moved, that usually meant that, oh, maybe there's a lion or a tiger back there, or maybe there's an antelope. We started to pay attention to things that were different, things that stood out. We need to break the pattern like this. Boom, red screen, right? You need to find a way to stand out and be different than the environment. That's what human beings, our eyes are drawn to that. Our eyes are drawn to movement. Our eyes are drawn to change. Our eyes are drawn to something that is new and different. We need to figure out how to break the pattern, right? And usually that means presenting an opportunity, something they want, or a threat, right? Presenting one of these two things in a novel, interesting way that breaks the pattern, right? Well, whichever one you choose, they need to understand that whatever you're presenting, there is a pot of dopamine at the end of the rainbow, right? Dopamine is the neurotransmitter that is like the pleasure. It's one of the pleasure neurotransmitters, right? It's not just released when something cool happens. It's released when we are chasing something good, right? So, for example, people scroll on social media and not every post is amazing. They're looking for that one post that stands out, right? And when they find it, they get a hit of dopamine. The mind rewards them for taking the time to be curious and look through things. And they found something interesting, so the brain gives them dopamine, and it's an addictive process, right? Back in the day, it helps us become good hunters. We'd go out there, we'd look, we'd see the antelope, boom, dopamine, we're excited, right? Or we're out there, and we see, oh, look, a female from the other tribe, boom, dopamine, right? The dopamine is a reward for this search that we're on. So whenever you present them with something to catch their attention, they need to know that on the other side, there's a dopamine, there's going to be a reward. You're teasing something valuable or dangerous or relevant to them, right? And they know that if they continue down this path, say with a subject line or this Facebook ad, as an example, they will be rewarded with dopamine. You need to tap into that pre-existing brain flow that exists already, right? Again, dopamine is what makes the world go round. We live in an attention economy. He who is able to give people dopamine in the right way can get them to do anything that they want, right? If you can dangle dopamine and get them to chase some future payoff of that neurotransmitter, you can get people to do anything you want, just like cats with a laser. You can get them to do anything at all, right? And when you add curiosity, mystery, and intrigue on top of that, those are sort of the elements. Those are ways we can describe that thirst or that search for dopamine, right? If you can add that to whatever you're presenting, it's like dumping gasoline on the fire. So how do you engineer curiosity? How do you get them to think, hey, there's some dopamine to be found here? Curiosity, once you've got their attention with something that's, either a threat or an opportunity, curiosity comes from an information gap, right? It's like a low-grade anxiety that exists and can only be solved when that question is answered. There's something they don't know, right? They know a little bit, but not all of it. There's part of the picture, part of the puzzle they're not getting. And that that gap, that misunderstanding or that lack of understanding, it sort of eats at the person. It's like a low-grade anxiety, right? It's like an unsolved riddle that just eats away in their mind, right? It's just there constantly. You all know what this feels like if you've watched any kind of TV show or series online where they end each episode or series with or season with like a major cliffhanger, right? And you don't know exactly what's going to happen. But it kind of left you on the edge of your seat, like waiting for the next episode. This is why people binge episodes. This is why people binge TV shows. This is why people wait for months and months and months to watch the next episode when it finally comes out. That's the feeling you want to create. That's the type of information gap, the type of curiosity and mystery and intrigue that you want to have attached to everything that you write. You want to, each step that you want the person to take from viewing something to opening this, to reading that, to clicking this link, to watching this, to buying this product should be because they are on the edge of their seat, dying of curiosity, just on the other side of the action that you want them to take, right? That's how you lead people to change their life for good. Now, there are a few things that enhance curiosity. The first one is specificity. Whatever you're teasing, whatever you're building curiosity around, it needs to be specific. If you go too vague, there's something called poor man's curiosity or poor man's intrigue, where it's like, this will change your life. That's so vague and so empty. Sure, there's an information gap, but there's not enough information there even to have a gap in the first place. It's basically nothing, right? Whereas if you give someone something specific, it feels real enough to the brain that they try and actually solve the problem, right? Sometimes you see people like number things, right? Like for example, like the 10 steps you must take to hit 10K a month as a copywriter as quickly as humanly possible. That's an example, right? It's specific enough. There's a number, there's a reason, there's enough specificity that's like, well, these must be real things. I'm curious what they are, right? Specificity creates reality. You want to be specific without revealing everything, right? If you tell them the whole answer and there's no more information gap, then you've ruined it. You got to maintain a gap. But if you give them some specific information, just a little bit, not all of it, but just a little bit, it increases the curiosity. Another thing is a not statement. So when you start teasing something, when you're building intrigue around something, the reader is going to make their best guess as to what that thing actually is. They're going to try and guess the answer. If you can tell them that it's not that thing, so if you're teasing something, they're like, I bet he's teasing a cold outreach strategy, and you tell them it's not a cold outreach strategy, right? Then they'll be like, oh, I thought it was this, and now it's not that. Now I have to figure out what it was because I was wrong, right? You can stack not statements. You can say it's not this, it's not this, it's not this. This works really good, especially if you're in any kind of space where it's like a fairly sophisticated market. For example, if you're in weight loss and you're teasing some new way to lose weight, you can say it's not keto, it's not intermittent fasting, it's not vegan, it's not carnivore. You can say all these not things, and now they're like, well, it's none of the things I thought it was going to be. I wonder what it actually is. So not statements is a powerful way to enhance curiosity. Another way to build curiosity is through borrowed status or mystery, right? So secrets, Illuminati, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, ancient secret knowledge from the Egyptian, whatever. Humans gravitate towards the secret, the occult, the high status. So you can take whatever you're teasing, and if you can connect it to something big and powerful or old or interesting or inherently mysterious, then you get a lot of value, right? So if you say, like, I might be violating NDA, but I'll tell you what I once learned from Dan Kennedy about online marketing, right? The fact that there's some level of secrecy and there's a big name connected to it increases the curiosity around the thing that you're teasing, right? Another thing is if it's unexplainable, right? If there are some sort of results that defy their map of reality. So everyone has a map of reality. They think they know how the world works. If someone is getting real results that are different than what someone thinks is possible, then usually it creates a search for the human. The human has to then try and figure out how it works. Like we're inherently curious people, right? We've evolved to be very curious because it's how we survive in the world and thrive. And that's why we've landed on the moon and why we've done a bunch of other things and other animals don't, right? If you give someone proof of something or show them something that doesn't make sense with how they understand the world, it starts them down the rabbit hole trying to figure it out, right? So if you can give them a real thing that is different, they'll figure it out. So again, this is key. If you can win the battle for their attention and get them hooked, like constantly on a constant drip of curiosity, if you become their source of dopamine, there is no limit to what you can get the reader to do. Like, remember that cat. You can get the cat to do anything you want if you can just get them to follow that little red laser. And humans are no different. If you can tease them with dopamine. If you can build curiosity, intrigue, and mystery, you can get them to take step by step by step, and you just give them new mystery, new curiosity every step of the way. You can guide them from not knowing about you to being a raving fan, right? And paying you tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, for example. So the ability to master curiosity, the ability to master your reader's attention is key. It's a battle you win at the very beginning, and you have to maintain success in that battle. You have to be the victor the entire time, all the way through, if you want to be successful as a copywriter.